Hey, come here. You like pro wrestling? We got a little something for you. Two fans, 3,000 miles away. We each been watching for more than 30 years. Celebrating the art form, the action, the homoeroticism. We ain't rating matches. We ain't analyzing stories. We ain't experts. We just sit down, shut up, and mark out! Hello, everybody! It is me! It is D. No, it's Blade Daily, actually. And I'm coming to you with another edition of Sit Down, Shut Up, Mark Out! And I'm joined once again, and very gladly so, by the returning best there is, best there was, best there ever will be, the greatest pro wrestling Canadian podcaster in all of Canadian pro wrestling podcast history. Joshi G, how are you, friendo?
Yo, I'm doing all right. A little bit run down this week, with the seasonal changes and all that. So allergies are being bratty. Feel like I'm catching a cold or something. But besides that, I'm doing okay. How about you?
I'm doing all right. The change of seasons just was like, bam, we're done.
I know.
We're done. Summer's over, bitch.
No time to transition,
It's crazy.
So
crazy. It's just like one day it just started getting dark at like 7 o'clock. And I was like, whoa,
right?
Whoa.
Scary times.
Yeah. So welcome to fall. It is officially fall. And you know what? I actually kind of am digging it because
Me too.
In my particular circumstance, my apartment's like on the third floor. So it gets pretty goddamn warm during the summer, and it's been really warm. It's been nice not to run the AC. Nice for my power bill.
Yes.
So that
Of
I am
course.
a little stoked about. There's been a lot going on, some of which we're going to talk about, some of which we're not. The Vince McMahon documentary dropped. Spoiler alert, he's a piece of shit. Fuck him forever.
Who would have thought? Yes.
Fuck Vince McMahon. I've watched 2 episodes. There isn't much new information other than hearing Vince basically talk about things himself instead of other people talking about them for him. There's not been almost anything new. I've heard that it's basically that way through episode 5. I don't even know if I'm going to make it that far, to be honest with you, because there's going to be this sycophantic garbage going on all the way up through there, and his little yes men, Bruce Pritchard, and his fucking
Go away.
just like sniffing Vince's farts right in front of everybody, like he always does. So that dropped this week, and it started a whole bunch of fun discourse. I just saw somebody on Threads saying how we wouldn't have wrestling without Vince, so I had to argue with them a little bit about that. I did rewatch for the first time in a long time, Mulholland Drive by the one and only
movie.
David Lynch this week. And boy, that movie holds up real fucking well.
It is so good. And I'm a huge Lynch fan, so.
Yeah, we both are. And it's just one of the most imaginative mysteries / kind of like modern noir, but it's not in black and white. It's got like lots of shout outs to classic Hollywood kind of vibes, but told so brilliantly. Guys, if you haven't seen Mulholland Drive and you like surreal, artsy movies, you got to see it. It's just such good stuff, So that was cool. It was, it's always nice, because I'm so in wrestling, to step away and do other things and kind of get some perspective on how storytelling works and how, in basically every other medium. So when you come back and people are like, AEW, they don't tell any stories. It's like, no, guys, I know how stories work.
Right.
So anyway, that was a fun thing to do.
I've been watching Parks and Recreation.
Oh, yeah.
Because I didn't watch it when it originally aired, and I was curious about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it is really funny, I have to say.
It's a great show.
It's a really good show.
It was kind of the successor to The Office. And,
yes. You
another
can tell.
show that was great.
Yes, of course. Michael Scott.
Yeah. And the British version of The Office was great. before Ricky Gervais just revealed himself to be a giant douchebag. But yeah, no, that's cool. I'm glad you're watching it. How far in are you?
Season 4.
Oh wow, okay, so you're deep.
I've been going through it really fast. It's just so funny. I love Leslie, obviously, and I love Ron. So
yeah. No, there's there's so much good character work by so many different people in that show. But Amy Poehler, man, that is like her masterpiece.
She's so good.
Leslie Knope is her kind of masterwork character, and she's so good at it. So good at it. Yeah, Parks and Rec, you can't go wrong. It's a show that I'll probably go back and rewatch at some point, but
you should.
I have seen it all. I mean, it was maybe my last actually network comedy show that I ever enjoyed. So I'm glad you're watching that. I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Thanks, friendo.
Well, it's been a wild week, and it's been a wild week in the wacky world of AEW. So why don't we get to talking about it?
Sure, let's go.
All right. Well, this past Wednesday, we had a really, really, really good Dynamite. Fantastic Dynamite. It was Grand Slam. It was in Arthur Ashe Stadium in New York, in Queens. And the last time it'll be there for a while. So probably the right call. It sounds like they had, I wasn't paying too much attention, but it sounded like attendance was down quite a bit. Whatever. I don't give a shit. Looked good to me on TV. We've talked about it in the past. I'm sure they'd like to do better, but they didn't. So they started it off real strong with Nigel McGuinness walking out. I did not think this was going to be the first match.
Me neither.
But he comes out. They play Danielson's traditional music, and he doesn't come out. And then Nigel, pulls the heel count him out, referee. He's a coward. Blah, 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 blah. Ref starts counting. And then final countdown hits. The crowd starts going apeshit. We all knew we were getting this match, okay?
Yeah.
There was no way they were going to promote it up to Showtime, having you believe Danielson was going to be there, and then not have him be there. I still think they probably would have gotten a few more people in the door if they had said, this match is happening.
Yeah.
Whatever. It was very, very cool to see these two in the ring together, just across from each other. The crowd was going nuts for this one, Joshi. How'd you feel at the beginning of this?
I felt nostalgic. I felt excited. I felt grateful. We haven't seen them wrestle each other for 15 years. We haven't seen Nigel wrestle in a really long time. And so I was so happy. And I love that Danielson came out to the final countdown. Right call. Nigel looked really good. I think, you know what? I'm not going to hesitate to say that I could see him wrestling, maybe not every week, but pretty regularly. He looks good. I was actually really impressed.
He looked good. I don't know what his ambitions are. I don't know if that was what he wanted, was just his last match to be with Brian and to call it. I know they're very good friends in real life, so I know that was incredibly meaningful to them. Did you think he said thank you, or did you think he said fuck you?
I'm not sure. It seems like the online world interpreted as a thank you. And I would like to think that's what he said.
I think that's what he said, but yeah. I wasn't entirely sure, and there were certainly a number of other people who were a little confused. And apparently on TBS they actually censored it. Because that's what they thought he said. But if it was thank you, that's what a poetic way to go out. He says thank you and then he taps. For a guy who hasn't wrestled in over 10 years, Nigel just looked very, very good. His strikes weren't super great, but aside from that, the scientific wrestling stuff they were doing in this match was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And, if the guy wanted to get his strikes back, he could. This is his first full match. I would be gassed after trying to hit the ropes for 30 seconds. Okay.
I know.
This guy
I know.
wrestled a 20-minute match with the American Dragon. Okay.
I know.
A guy
Me too. Yeah.
famous for blowing people up. Okay. Danielson. So this guy lasted 20 minutes in the ring after not wrestling for like 13 years or whatever it's been. So nothing but props to Nigel. His lariats looked awesome.
They really did. Yeah.
And just the grappling was just top notch. I could have, if this match had gone another 10 minutes, I would have been even happier. But
Me too.
Nigel went 20 minutes. That's incredible.
Well, look, iBlade, for someone that hasn't wrestled in so many years, to be able to wrestle for 20 minutes against someone like Danielson,
Yeah.
and to look as good as he did, I have to say, really impressive. And if he does decide to continue to wrestle and he works on his strikes, I would consider him one of the best in the world again, easily.
Yeah, I think Nigel has, he is 48 years old. He's not a spring chicken. And so, I'm not sure if he's interested in a full-time kind of comeback, but if this was his last match and it was against Bryan Danielson in front of, I think they had somewhere between 7,000 and 9,000 people in that arena, that's pretty awesome. And
oh yeah, of course.
These guys, neither one of these guys is in their physical prime anymore, but they performed for more people that night at Grand Slam than they ever have together. So
True.
That's pretty fucking poetic and cool. The Danielson goodbye tour continues to be really, really impressive and cool. So it's very likely their last match. It was amazing for us, and it was amazing for them. You hit me with a really interesting message after the next match. Instagram. It was Hook versus Roderick Strong.
Right.
And,
yes,
long story short, Hook won. It was a good match. I thought Roddy Roddy took Hook to a new level in the ring. Roddy's very good at that. But had kind of a weird ending because Roddy hugged Hook and the Kingdom hugged Hook. And then, Tony Schiavone interviews Hook, and Hook retires the FTW title, and I get a message from you in my DMs. And what were your thoughts at the end of this match, Joshi?
Well, I thought there was a possibility that he might be leaving AEW.
Mm-hmm.
Just the way it played out, you had Roddy and the other members of the Kingdom. The members of the Kingdom hug him, which was a little bit unusual. He announced that he was retiring the belt. He's a New Yorker.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it doesn't mean that he's definitely leaving, but
right.
I had read a few months ago that he was interested in exploring free agency. So there's a possibility that he's going to explore, but I haven't seen any reports the past few days indicating that his contract's ending or anything like that. So maybe it was just a fitting way to retire the FTW belt. I don't know. Hopefully he's sticking around. Obviously it's always nice when they stay, but if he wants to explore free agency, that's understandable too. I like that he got his moment with Taz. I guess another indicator was that Taz got emotional.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was wondering, is this the last time we're going to see Hook? And when he was going to the back, he turned to the crowd and kind of saluted them. So that's why I was thinking maybe there's a possibility this was the last time we'll see him in AEW. But again, I feel like we would have seen some kind of report saying that he's leaving or something along those lines at this point. So I really don't know.
Yeah, well, I hadn't had that thought until you messaged me, and then I kind of was putting the pieces together, and I'm like, the hugs from the heels were weird. A moment with Taz just felt natural. Like, one, we need to get rid of some fucking titles.
Yeah.
And so the FTW title is the easiest one. Just get that thing the fuck out of here. Okay, I thought they did it in the classiest, coolest way they possibly could. And Taz tearing up, I mean, I think he's proud of his son.
For sure.
That's his lineage that he started more than 25 years ago with the FTW title. So I could see him just being kind of emotional for that reason alone. But Who's to say? I really don't know. The more I thought about it, the more I'm like, well, maybe. Look, everybody, here's the thing. In a way, if you're Hook, if you're Daniel Garcia, you kind of be crazy not to be exploring those options right now.
Yeah.
NXT is going to be on CW with a bunch of money to sign people, okay? They want young people to bring into their company that they think they can market to a young audience. So people like Daniel Garcia and Hook are the kind of people they would be going after. So I'm never going to hold it against the talent if they try to get the very best deal possible, okay? More power to them. I don't know anything, and I haven't heard anything officially at all that Hook's not going to be back on TV soon. Hopefully he's just going to be chasing another title, and they've already come to an agreement, and he's happy, you know? But one way or the other, it was a very cool way to retire the FTW title. I really enjoyed it. Woo! This next match. Woo! 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 The Young Bucks.
Oh.
Versus
Match
Will
of the night.
Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher. Joshi G, why don't you start us off with this one?
Okay, like, geez, that match was incredible. I have a few comments about this one. There were some complaints, I would say, for a good year and a half, that it seemed like the Bucks weren't motivated and they weren't giving 100% in their matches. And then, obviously, we agree with my next point, which is that they were constantly feuding with the same teams and it was getting old.
Yeah.
So it's been really refreshing to see them wrestle other teams, even teams that aren't exactly established as a tag team.
Mm-hmm.
And they, like, all four of those guys absolutely killed it. Ospreay is arguably the best in the world right now. And then you have Kyle Fletcher, who is getting pretty close to Ospreay's level, which is scary because he is so young. And then, of course, you have the Bucks that when they're motivated and they give 100%, you have all the ingredients to put together a classic. And that was just a classic match. I am so happy that there's been a focus on the tag team division again. The matches are standing out again. I mean, to me, we haven't even gone over all of Dynamite, but to me, this was the match of the night.
Oh,
Easily.
Yeah, easily.
Easily.
It's like the Bucks' best match in I don't know how long. It was a super good match.
It was a super good match. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with Ospreay and Fletcher because basically Don Callis at some point gives Kyle Fletcher the screwdriver and wants him to hit, the Bucks with it. And Ospreay tells him not to.
Well, Kyle was going to do it.
He was going to do it. Yeah, Ospreay told him not to do it. And then all this back and forth basically resulted in the Bucks beating Ospreay and Fletcher. And after the match, you could tell Don was disappointed. Fletcher was disappointed.
He was mad. He looked mad at Will. Yeah.
So what happens next? I don't know, but it's interesting.
Well, it's okay. So I think we should go into detail on the ending.
Yeah, go for it.
Guys, watch this match. Watch the highlights on YouTube. Just go out of your way to see this one. It's one of the best TV matches of the year. For one, Ospreay and Fletcher's chemistry together is incredible. These are guys that don't team regularly. No. Now, they know each other very well. They're very good friends. So they must train together a lot. They probably have spent a ton of time running drills, practicing in the ring. But their tag team moves looked so good, so crisp. So Fletcher has the screwdriver in the ring. He's about to go stab, I believe it was Matthew Jackson with it, and Ospreay stops him. And as Ospreay stops him and takes the screwdriver and throws it out of the ring, the Bucks use the belt to hit Fletcher and pin him. So it's kind of like because Ospreay stopped Fletcher from cheating, the Bucks cheated instead and won. And so that was kind of the premise here. And so they're trying to, paint this moral ambiguity about the whole situation. Like Ospreay was too much of a goody two-shoes and it cost them the match, or they lost for a valiant reason, right? And Fletcher he's been hanging out with the Callis family. This is just shit they do, It's hard to say where this is going to go. But I also real quick wanted to say two things. The Young Bucks do match layouts better than anyone. Mm-hmm. Anyone, ever. Every time you think the match is at a crescendo, somehow it gets higher and higher. And it goes on for, I've thought Young Bucks matches were going to end 10 minutes before they did before.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow they go way higher than where I thought the match had peaked. So you really never know when the end is coming in a Young Bucks match. And this felt like a classic Young Bucks match to me. And then lastly, I saw a few people say that Matt kicked out of too much stuff. And I just don't agree, okay? When AEW started, I heard somebody describe the Bucks as two world championship caliber athletes who happen to be a tag team, okay? And that's how I've always thought of the Bucks. They are the guys who can kick out of the shit nobody else can kick out of. They are, and FTR's done it a couple times too. They are those kind of superhuman tag teams. And I have no problem with that whatsoever. It just increased the drama of the match, which is more important than any of that other stuff anyway. So anyway, go ahead, Joshi.
Well, I liked all the kickouts and stuff because it made me so much more invested in the match. But I just wanted to bring up 2 points. First off, I don't know. I guess Fletcher hasn't been paying attention because whenever Don Callis interferes in a match, that person ends up losing. Yep. So I hope this is a lesson learned for Fletcher. Like, dude, come on. Did you not watch Forbidden Door? Mm-hmm. And another thing I wanted to say, I was thinking about this while you were talking about the match. You know what? I feel like Ospreay and Fletcher, their chemistry reminded me of Omega Ibushi in some ways, where they're singles. You know what I mean? Like they're singles wrestlers, and they're so amazing on their own, and somehow together they just blend really well too. And you wouldn't think they would, but somehow it just really works. I mean, like when I can't even remember the last time that Ospreay and Fletcher teamed up together, and their chemistry was just off the charts from the beginning of the match. It was insane. Incredible to see. Yeah.
If Will wasn't a singles champion right now, I mean, you could have given him a tag title run.
You could have.
I mean, they would be extremely believable. I also think the Golden Lovers might be coming to AEW as a package.
That's what I think too. Yeah.
Kenny Omega's name was dropped several times on this show, and I think Kenny is due back post haste. He did have a little appearance in New Japan with Sir Tanahashi, where it looked like they were coming face to face, and that more would be revealed about it. Kenny's hair is looking fantastic, by the way.
Yeah,
got super hair. Like the longest I've ever seen his hair. Kenny, just a cool looking motherfucker. What can you say?
He's gorgeous.
Hey, I'm not even. Kenny's hot.
Real good. I'm glad you admit to it. Real quick, iBlade. Kenny Omega is the best looking wrestler of all time. Okay, I'm being serious right now. And I call him my wrestling husband, and I'm happily married, obviously. But Kenny Omega, most stunning person I've ever seen in professional wrestling.
He's a good-looking dude.
He's a good-looking guy.
Can't argue. He's just like nobody else looks like Kenny. He's just a very good-looking dude.
And I think he might come back either on Dynamite at the for the 5th year anniversary show, or maybe WrestleDream.
Maybe.
That would be great for you, iBlade.
Hey, I'm trying to keep my hopes down. Yeah. Okay, like I'm just trying not to let him get too high at this point. But they did name drop him several times. Jack Perry obviously has been taunting him by doing his dragon suplexes, and there's been a lot of that. So we'll see. But before we move on, it certainly seems like they were setting up some dissension between Kyle and Will. Are they going to fight at WrestleDream? Does Kyle maybe cost Will the title against Ricochet next week for the 5th anniversary Dynamite? Is this somehow going to bring Mark Davis back? Kyle's like, hey, Will, you weren't willing to do what it takes. I went and found my dude who is. So maybe this is what leads to Aussie Open, returning in a big way. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, lots of great opportunities.
We had Mariah versus Yuka Sakazaki, which I felt was very good. It was just, unfortunately, a little short for my taste. They didn't get a lot of time, but man, these ladies had a very good match. They are very good opponents for each other. I am not as knowledgeable about Yuka's kind of history as you are, and as some other people are. I've obviously seen her when she's been in AEW, and I've always appreciated her. But man, they've really let her go in some matches recently against Serena Deeb, against some other people, and I've really gotten a better appreciation for what she can do. And she's really won me over big time. So Mariah won with Tony's finisher, the Storm Driver or Storm. I don't even remember what it's called anymore. The real quick pile driver. And she was beating the shit out of Yuka with, she was kind of mauling her after the match. And very surprisingly, Willow Nightingale's music hits. She comes racing down to help Yuka, and Mariah and her come face to face. And it certainly looked like they were building to something with Willow and Mariah. And personally, I think that's a really good thing for Mariah, because so far Mariah is so associated with Tony that it's working a little bit against her right now, I think, with the fans, where it's like, because Tony's not there, like the fans don't know what to make of Mariah, and they need to see who she is against other people. And Willow is literally the polar opposite of Mariah in every single way. Her attitude, everything is completely the opposite. And these two could be amazing rivals. And so hopefully that's leading to them having a match, maybe at WrestleDream, because, Mariah runs from the ring eventually after Willow, tries to run her off. And whose music should hit but the one and the only Mina Shirakawa. Mina comes out looking very confused. She's obviously very confused. And she's asking Mariah, what happened? What happened? And she doesn't look like she knows what's going on. And I think they're going to tell a story here where Mina is kind of being dragged along by Mariah, but doesn't actually support what she's doing. And maybe they're going to play the ignorant babyface thing with Mina for a little while. But it seems like it might be leading to them having a little parting of the ways. Who knows how fast that will be? But it looks like they're setting up Willow and Mariah in the meantime. What do you think, Joshi?
I have a few comments. So first off, I thought Mariah Yuka was too short.
Yeah.
Should have been a longer match. And listen, I think Yuka is one of the best female wrestlers on that roster. Mm-hmm. She is incredible. I don't think I've ever seen her in a bad match. And so I would have liked her to be a more serious competitor, So hopefully, eventually, they build Yuka enough, because she is just too good. And she's adorable, and she's over. So I just really want her to get a really good push. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think they deserve more time. I just wanted to see more of the woman on Dynamite. So kind of like the week prior, we didn't really get any backstage segments with the woman. Mercedes wasn't there. Mm-hmm. We haven't seen Chris in a while. Not sure what's been happening the past 2 weeks. I guess there's just been too much going on. But I do want to see the woman featured more on Dynamite. And it feels like, to me, the past 2 weeks, I haven't gotten enough of the ladies. And yeah, like, it just goes to show, I mean, if Mariah Yuka would have maybe gotten 15 minutes, I would have felt a little bit better, but it just wasn't long enough.
Yeah, how long did it get? I mean, I thought it probably got 10 minutes, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, maybe not. I'm not sure.
Who knows?
8 minutes or something like that. A couple of other things. Maybe I misunderstood, but I was under the impression that Diana was going to be out there with Yuka, because she had told Willow that a real friend will be there, in her friend's corner when she's wrestling. You weren't there for Yuka, and she said, "Oh, I'll be there Wednesday." So I'm not sure what happened. If I maybe misunderstood, I was under the impression that Deanna was going to be there, and that maybe then Willow would come out and Deanna and Willow would fight. Like, I was under the impression that Willow was going to feud with Deanna. That was my impression.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Maybe there's some kind of a change. I have no freaking idea.
And maybe they're just sowing some confusion the way they have around other things recently.
Maybe because I'm not nuts, right? Isn't that what Deanna said?
Deanna said that she could offer protection.
Yeah.
That she had New York connections or something that could
Right.
protect Yuka.
And another thing I wanted to bring up, which I'm actually really interested to know if they're going to bring this up next Wednesday on Dynamite, but iBlade, essentially, Toni Storm has a match against Mayu Iwatani in Stardom for the IWGP Women's title next week. But tomorrow, Azumi and Mayu Iwatani are teaming up against Mina and Toni.
Right.
Mariah does not know this.
I know. So
right?
They had, for those of you who don't know, they had a backstage segment with Mina and Mariah, and Mariah said, why do you have to go back to Japan? And Mina kind of was like, just for stuff. Just, she didn't want to tell her why. She's going to team with Toni Storm in Stardom.
Right.
So that's, there's kind of this interesting dynamic that's going to be going on with Mina and Mariah. And I think it's really smart because the fans love Mina. Okay.
Did you hear the reaction to her when she came out?
Insane.
That was a loud reaction.
Insane.
Yeah. She's won the AEW fans over.
She's, you know what? I think she's under contract till March, and she'd be crazy not to come to AEW, and Tony would be crazy not to give her a good contract to get her there, because I think she could be their biggest Joshi star potentially.
And iBlade, I think she could be their top female babyface.
She could. No, I mean, she could. I mean, her or Tony. I mean, it's one or the other. But, she's absolutely incredible. Down the line, thinking of all the matches they could have with Mina versus Mercedes, Mina versus Britt, Mina versus so many people. Deanna,
Sheeta, Athena,
exactly. Billy Starks, Aminata. It's wild, but I think she's a must. She's probably the top free agent that they could sign right now.
Oh yeah,
because they cannot afford for anybody else to step in and sweep her out from under them. Tony needs to make this one happen. We can't have a Stephanie Vacure kind of thing going on here.
Never again, please.
We had Prince Nana come out to give an update on Swerve Strickland. He said he's not cleared yet, but that he, emotionally he's okay. He's doing well, and that he's going to be back soon. I think personally he'll probably be back on TV next week for the anniversary show. Who should come walking out of the heel tunnel? But a man with a cane and a suit and a purple pocket square. MVP comes out. The crowd knows exactly what's going on here. We all at home know what's going on here. We know who MVP represents. I don't even watch WWE. I never saw 1 minute of the Hurt Business, but I heard all about it because people loved it. Okay, I heard a lot about it. I think that is a huge reason why Bobby Lashley ended up with another world title reign at Mania. He beat Drew McIntyre a few years back, for those who remember. I think the Hurt Business is a big reason why. And the Hurt Business was very popular I remember hearing a lot of complaining when they were broken up. And so it certainly appears that those guys might be on their way, Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley. But MVP comes out. He lays the blame for Swerve's house being burnt down and Swerve losing it all out on Prince Nana. And he said he's shucking and jiving, and that's all he does. And he uses Swerve to sell his coffee. And Nana was pissed. And MVP said, please give Swerve my card so we can talk business. He's obviously laying it down, alluding to the Hurt Business. This was a great segment. I thought it was very good. Shows a direction for Swerve after this. There was a lot of people on social and some of the news sites saying that they thought Swerve was going to join the Hurt Business. Swerve isn't turning heel, you guys. He's not. I don't know why anybody would think that at this point. Swerve is probably going to wrestle Bobby Lashley, would be my guess. He's not going to join the Hurt Business, and he's going to get brutalized for it. So it gives, a direction. I also saw people do that thing where, MVP shows up, they know the Hurt Business is associated with that, and then they try to book every black wrestler in AEW to be a member of the Hurt Business. Please, guys.
Will Hobbs.
Yeah,
I saw that. Yeah.
I don't think we need to race to that. Let's let it play out. But not every black wrestler needs to be in a faction together. That's just kind of, I don't know. That strikes me weird. I don't really know what to say about it. But I don't agree. Let's put it that way. Swerve is going to be a babyface. They have done all this work to nurture the fan relationship with Swerve. Why would they just erase it all of a sudden? So they're gonna tease something maybe with Nana and Swerve, but I think the ultimate they're not gonna split those guys up. So Joshi, what were your thoughts?
Well, when I had first read that there was a really strong possibility that MVP, Lashley, and Benjamin were signing with AEW, I wasn't sure how I felt about it. I was kind of 50-50. But when MVP came out, I haven't seen him in a long time, to be honest. It reminded me that, holy crap, he is really good on the mic. And he's good at getting the crowd excited and all of that. So I think he's a great signing, and Shelton Benjamin is a terrific wrestler. Loved him in Team Angle. If you guys don't know this yet, I was a huge Kurt Angle fan. I mean, I still am. And as for Bobby Lashley, he's a really great big guy. You know what I mean? He's a really good wrestler, and that MVP will speak on his behalf, which is very smart.
Yeah,
so
you don't want Bobby cutting his own promo.
No, definitely not.
No.
So I think that them three, being reunited in AEW and bringing Hurt Business, was that what it was called? The Hurt Business back.
And I think that they trademarked Hurt Syndicate or something that.
Okay, so Hurt, previously known as Hurt Business, maybe moving forward will be known as Hurt Syndicate. I don't know, but I think it's going to work really well. MVP definitely got me energized, and I don't see Swerve without Prince Nana. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that like Brock and Paul Heyman, Nana's going to be Swerve's guy for a really long time.
You cannot break them up. No. They are a magical union that nobody could have predicted would be as good as it is, but it's magic. It's just there is so much more they can do together. The only thing I could see is that they could both join the the Hurt Syndicate. Call it the Hurt Embassy.
Hurt Embassy.
That sounds so dumb. Funny. But it leaves a lot of possibilities open, which I'm a big fan of. Storyline possibilities. Let's hope that they're ready to get to working though, because I don't want this to linger in the air and maybe it could be this or it could be that for a long time. I want something to happen quickly. And then we had our main event. Mox beat Darby Allin, won his title shot from him, and he will be facing Bryan Danielson at WrestleDream. And I'm just going to come out and say I was not a fan of this finish at first. I liked the actual match a lot. I thought it was really good. I thought it was a great finish, made Darby look super tough. That it took a avalanche death rider to put him down, and Darby looked like he landed real rough on it, like face first for sure. So Moxley has been on top in WWE, in AEW, I'm sorry, for a very, very long time. And the idea of him having another world title reign really, just on its face, isn't that interesting to me. Okay. And it's kind of him being punished for being so dependable, because he was the guy who was very rarely ever hurt. He was very rarely ever gone. John was the guy that they could turn to time after time after time. When the CM Punk crisis after Brawl Out happened, they put the belt back on John. John basically had to fucking clean up after Punk. And he did so. And he did so, looked like a true leader. And so I don't want to punish John for being so dependable, But the more I thought about it, the more it's like Darby really hasn't been built up enough to win the world title at this point. I think it would be a big mistake. And it'd probably be, this is when the world title can be the end of you. Like it was, I think, for Jinder Mahal. They put the belt on Jinder Mahal years ago, and everybody knew he wasn't ready for it. And he did his best to try and hold it. He seems like a nice enough guy and everything, but his character didn't deserve it, and everybody knew it. And everybody just wanted to see him buried after that. And you don't want that to happen to somebody like Darby. Okay. So the fans love Darby. Tell a good story. They can use this loss to tell a good story for Darby. Moxley's obviously wrapped up in what appears to be the biggest story in the company. So it makes sense that him and Danielson would fight at WrestleDream. Not the match I was hoping for. I wanted, as everybody knows, Danielson versus Swerve. But doesn't look like that's where we're going. Joshi, what did you think?
Considering that Moxley won, I'm not convinced that it's going to be Danielson's last match at WrestleDream. I just think that would be a really depressing way to end his full-time career in AEW, and I don't know. I don't know if I see Danielson losing at this point. It's going to be such like a crappy feeling for the fans in attendance and the people watching on TV to see him lose to Moxley and then not being a full-time competitor anymore. So I'm conflicted. Mm-hmm. To be frank with you, I wanted Swerve Danielson as well. And when they had announced that Darby was going to put his title shot on the line, I was like, crap. Well, clearly Moxley's going to win this. Why else would they have this match? I actually would have preferred Danielson Darby, because at least they're both from Washington. If Darby would have won, the fans would have still been happy because he's a Washington guy. He could have been a transitional champion. I personally don't want to see Mox win the belt again. Not right now. And I'm not saying I never want him to win it again. I just don't think now's the right time for it. And it's just kind of one of those things where I feel they could have done a lot more with Swerve's title reign. And I decided to give Danielson a pass. He was the only person that I was willing to convince me that, okay, if he beats Swerve, it's understandable and it's okay. I'm a huge Danielson fan. But now, if Swerve is not going to win it back, I just really hope that Danielson doesn't lose, and hopefully his last match isn't going to be at WrestleDream. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I have nothing against Moxley. He's been really reliable. He's a great wrestler. He's great on the mic, but he's been champion enough times at this point, and I just want to see them put the belt on somebody younger, I guess. I don't know. I'm still not sure how I feel about it. Like, yes, the Moxley storyline is big. It's the biggest storyline in the company right now. I absolutely agree with that. And I get why they're doing this. I mean, it made sense. You have Moxley and the BCC members attack Danielson after his match at All Out. Like, of course, it made sense that he was going to feud with Mox. I don't know. Like, in my opinion, I would have had Swerve win it back, and then I would have had Hangman win the belt from Swerve and give Hangman a lengthy title reign because Hangman deserves it after all the work that he's done, especially the past year and a half. So that's how I feel about it, personally. Now, what's going to happen at WrestleDream, I don't know, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed that Danielson doesn't lose, man. That's where I'm at now.
They have a lot of story here with Moxley, and they need to knock the cryptic shit off. Like, it's time to start getting to the point because, look, Moxley and Danielson are both great wrestlers, but their matches against each other have never really been, like, epics. I wouldn't put them in the either guy's, like, greatest matches of AEW.
No.
Weren't the matches they had with each other. And I have no doubt they would have a great match and will have a great match at WrestleDream in the main event. But I do feel that you can't have Moxley lose. Otherwise, you neuter this group. And I think something big has to happen at this anniversary show to bring the anticipation for this match way up. Otherwise, it just really doesn't make... It just feels like, you know, you can't have a big reveal after the match. It's Danielson's possible last full-time match. I think it would be an extremely dark way to end his reign, but I'm going to let them try to tell this story before I get too far ahead of myself. We're going to talk about WrestleDream here in a few minutes, but I think that there is definitely some downside to the direction that they've gone, at least on paper so far. And it'll be interesting to see where it goes from here. Much as I love AEW, I'm not sure where this is going, and I don't necessarily like the feeling it's giving me yet. So we'll have to see. But that was Grand Slam. It was on the whole, it was a very good show. How did you feel about Danielson running in with Commander and Private Party?
I thought that was a little bit random.
Felt random, right?
Yeah, like I was actually hoping that it would have been Garcia. That didn't happen. We don't know if he's staying in AEW or not. I feel it would have made more of an impact if it was someone that has mentioned how they look up to Danielson. Like if it would have been like Garcia and Yuta or something. I don't know. Just felt a little bit underwhelming.
Yeah.
But
the truth is, like, those guys just aren't presented as characters of consequence yet.
No, I don't feel the crowd really reacted to them helping her.
But I don't know if it really
Danielson,
means anything yet. So I don't want to get
right. We'll see.
Too far down the road with it. But I think that you're right. Like they're just not presented as people who are that consequential in the long run of AEW. Hopefully that changes.
Yeah.
And hopefully they have a plan for him because the way they were used even last week on Dynamite, Private Party just basically got the living shit kicked out of them, and Marina Shafir was beating their ass. So not that there's any shame in getting your ass beat by Marina Shafir, but they were kind of treated like jobbers, kind of.
They were.
So for Collision, there's more matches for Grand Slam. There's the Conglomeration versus the Learning Tree, which yawn, don't care. Jamie Hayter versus Saraya in a Saraya Rules match. It was either on Collision or Rampage, but they basically ran through the rules of a Saraya Rules match. There's no rope breaks except for Saraya, no countouts. Saraya can't be counted out, but Jamie Hayter can. So basically, it's just a match that gives Saraya all the advantages, and Hayter all the disadvantages. I think that'll be a fun match.
I am looking forward to the match. I was a little bit concerned that it might be Saraya's last match in AEW, considering her contract's coming up, but it was revealed today that she has re-signed with the company for another year, which I'm personally happy about because I believe it was a 1-year extension, which I'm personally happy about because I would like to see Harley and Saraya's friendship continue. They're really funny together, so that's what I wanted to say about that, and looking forward to seeing Jamie wrestle again, of course.
Yeah, well, and start to move her story along too, instead of just just kind of having some matches. Jack Perry has an open challenge. Don't know who that is, but there's been a lot of speculation. Who knows? Some people were saying Kenny Omega. Personally, I don't think that's the way Kenny will be coming back, and it wouldn't be on Collision. But that'll be interesting to see. They showed on Dynamite, the scapegoat bus driving over the bridge into Queens, so that's pretty cool. We'll see what happens very soon. Sammy Guevara versus Kazuchika Okada in an eliminator match for the Continental title. I think that's actually a really interesting matchup. Sammy has no business winning this match at all, not a snowball's chance in hell. So hopefully that doesn't come anywhere near happening. I do like Sammy. He needs to be rehabbed as a character entirely. And then the match that honestly is probably the most interesting on Collision to me is Hangman versus Jeff Jarrett in the Hangman strap match. So all the lumberjacks are not a Hangman strap match, a lumberjack strap match. So all the lumberjacks have straps. So if you get thrown out, they beat the shit out of you with straps. And Jeff Jarrett named people who had either helped Swerve or was part of the people rooting on Swerve. Seems like a vehicle for Hangman to kind of show how dangerous he is. And R.I.P. Jeff. I haven't read any spoilers, and I'm not going to, but I feel pretty comfortable. I don't think Jeff's winning this one. Joshi?
Oh, I highly doubt it. Hangman's totally winning this.
Yeah. So,
with good reason.
That's Collision. It's going to be a fun watch. I'm excited for it. However, going into WrestleDream, I got to talk about something here, okay? I am not poor. I'm not rich. I get by, okay? But, I don't have just, money laying around, right? I was super excited for this show when they announced that it was in the Tacoma Dome. When I looked at the ticket prices, and they were literally double what they were last year, I was like, something huge is going to happen. That even made me even more think that Swerve was gonna win or going to fight Danielson at the Tacoma Dome. And there is one match announced for this show, and it is happening in 2 weeks. This feels kind of like they're running out of steam, and I want to be wrong. Okay, I really want to be wrong. But having so many super shows one after the other has been too much. Having All In, 2 weeks later you have All Out, 2 weeks after that you have Grand Slam, 2 weeks after that you have WrestleDream, and you have one match announced. And even that match, the main event, doesn't have enough story attached to it yet. Okay? Moxley is cryptically hinting at something, and that needs to, change pronto. We need to know something more about why this is such a big deal, okay? Danielson said at the end of that segment, Dynamite, that he declares war. What does that mean? I don't want to be a downer here, but there's just not enough meat on the bone, not even close. And the problem that I see is it's not even possible for there to be enough meat on the bone, as best I can tell, unless something really big happens between now and WrestleDream. What are the other matches that have even been hinted at? Mariah versus Willow, maybe? Mina and Mariah versus Willow and Yuka? I don't want to see that on a pay-per-view. I want to see the women's world title defended. They've alluded to that a little bit, but they've also, like you said, alluded to Deonna versus Willow. So, not sure what's going on there. Possibly maybe Ospreay versus Kyle Fletcher, because they're doing Ricochet versus Will Ospreay the week before. But again, there's been no build to that. Kazuchika Okada versus Takeshita has been hinted at a few times. They weren't on TV this week. The Young Bucks versus who? No idea there. Mercedes versus nobody's even been hinted at. Is Swerve going to be at the show in his own hometown? Not good. That is, for me, as somebody with their hopes obviously through the roof, and like, I'm a bigger AEW fan than a lot of people, but still, like, this is kind of disappointing. WrestleDream seems very dependent on whatever's going to happen at the 5th anniversary show, and that is booking things way too close. You are not going to be able to generate the interest fast enough, with a 1 week build, basically. There's 2 episodes of Dynamite to build WrestleDream. And like I said, they have 1 single match announced. So, Joshi, do you have thoughts on this?
Oh, I completely agree with you. I'm not even going to WrestleDream, but there's no build to this pay-per-view. Being honest here, and the big problem here is that you have 4 big shows pretty much back-to-back in like a month and a half's time. You can't do that ever again. Luckily, Grand Slam will be in Australia in February, so that's good. Like you were telling me earlier, I believe you said All In will be next July.
Yeah, in Texas.
So that's good. In Texas, so next year they really have to figure out a way to space everything out. Put Grand Slam, book it, during a month where you don't really have a pay-per-view. Like February is a good month because they don't have anything.
Mm-hmm.
But like now that they have 9 pay-per-views a year, right? They might have to cut back a little bit on the Dynamite specials.
Right.
Those worked super well when they only had 4 to 6 shows a year, but now they almost have 12. So you don't really need these big special shows. Like, it's okay to have, like, let's say holiday shows. Like, those are always fun,
Sure,
right? Like a Halloween show. You have the wrestlers in costumes. You have all these crazy matches that you normally wouldn't see. Christmas, fine. Valentine's Day Massacre, you do something crazy. Where it's not really lovey-dovey, but the opposite, and it's funny. Fine. Mm-hmm. But the issue here is that they had All In. 2 weeks later, they had All Out. Then a few weeks later, they had Grand Slam, which Grand Slam hardly had a build. No wonder ticket sales weren't that great. And now you have freaking WrestleDream in 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. So that is too much.
Right.
That's too much going on in like a month and a half. And like you said, so far we only have Moxley, Dialson booked for WrestleDream. And
with this really vague promo for Moxley about why they did what they did.
Really vague promo. Yeah, we don't know exactly. We don't know what the heck is going on, what he's talking about. Right. So, listen, the way I see it, you want to generate as much interest as possible for WrestleDream, Hurt Business. You're probably going to have to bring them in before WrestleDream.
I think so. Yeah, I think...
Shane McMahon, let's be honest, guys, he's coming. I'm sorry. Like, I get it on threads. Everybody likes to joke around and say that it's my fault. And, I laugh along. It's funny. I don't mind. But, like, I am being serious here.
It is. I am too. It's your fault. Yeah.
No, but, yes, it's my fault. But also... we have to accept the fact that he is coming. I'm sorry, but at what point are these like coincidental run-ins at the airport? Oh, yeah. Just coincidences.
No, they're toe dips to show the fans like he's still meeting up with people coming. In AEW.
Yeah, he took a freaking picture with the Bucks and did their sign.
He did the Elite sign.
He's coming.
He's coming.
He did the Elite sign.
Coming.
This exactly. Yeah. This Shane McMahon. You want to generate as much interest for WrestleDream, you bring him in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, no,
I
think you bring him in next week on Dynamite.
Wednesday. You have to do it. Like, there's no bet. You can't wait until WrestleDream.
You can't.
Because at that point, the fans will have already bought their tickets. They're there in attendance. And he's going to come out to what? I don't know how good the attendance is going to be, but let's say it's not as great as we want it to be. He's going to come out to like a smaller crowd. I don't think so. I really think that if they want to sell as many tickets as possible, you got to bring in Lashley and Shelton Benjamin before WrestleDream. Shane has to come in on Wednesday, Fudge, and you explain, is he with the Elite? Is he with BCC? I don't know. You know, get that all figured out. What the hell is Jon Moxley talking about?
Right.
We need to know soon.
Announce the TV deal as well.
Okay, so that's one thing I wanted to mention, iBlade. They have to announce it on Wednesday.
I think they are.
There's no you can't announce it on any other day. On Wednesday, it's their 5-year anniversary show. That is when they have to absolutely announce their deal.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's just like, you got to get as much out there as possible in the next 2 weeks. And that's a lot. It's a lot. But, you know, they put themselves in this situation. And if you want people to attend WrestleDream, you want people to buy the pay-per-view, you got to get moving.
So anyway, you know, this has been a little weird, but there is a lot of things in the works, and Tony Khan isn't a dummy. Like, he knows that there isn't any matches announced besides one for WrestleDream. And I do believe that I don't think Bryan Danielson's last full-time match is going to be in front of 5,000 people. You know what I mean? If it's going to be his last full-time match, you kind of need the crowd you need people to kind of know, you know? Like when Ric Flair's retirement match happened, they didn't say like, hey, he's going to lose tomorrow at WrestleMania, but they inducted him into the Hall of Fame the night before, you know?
Right.
You kind of knew, you know? And so I think that will be interesting going forward is to see how they tie this story together. I think they are planning for the 5th anniversary show to be a really big one. And then they have one more Dynamite after that to kind of build this. So I think you're going to have less like emotional, personal feuds maybe driving the ship on this next show. But you could have some amazing matches, and Tony Khan hasn't produced a bad pay-per-view this year. I hope we continue the streak. So, last week, Joshi, you may recall, I talked about my personal Mount Rushmore, and then I talked about one of the wrestlers from my personal Mount Rushmore. My Mount Rushmore was Bret Hart, Kenny Omega, Sabu, and Jushin Liger. Do you happen to know what your Mount Rushmore is?
I would probably say Bret Hart, Kenny Omega, Kenta Kobashi, and most likely the very first Tiger Mask.
That's a great fucking Mount Rushmore. That is fantastic. We got to do some deep dives into those guys sometime soon. AEW, stop doing these big super shows so we can fucking, like,
I know,
talk about some historical shit, okay? So I asked the rest of the wrestling, the sit down, shut up averse to give us their Mount Rushmores, and a few people did. First off, Too Fat to Cook.
Funny name.
Said that their Mount Rushmore would be Bret Hart, Rey Mysterio, Stone Cold, and ooh yeah, the Macho Man.
Oh, Macho Man, he's one of my favorites.
Yeah,
crap.
no, it's hard to leave him off, but you can only pick 4.
I'm going to have to redefine it. Yes. Macho Man's on mine, man.
Is he? Wow.
Too Fat to Cook. Yeah, I'm a huge Macho Man fan.
Who are you going to remove then? Are you going to remove Kobashi?
Can I have, why does it have to be?
It's only 4. You only get 4.
I know. Okay, you know what? Let me think it over, and I'll confirm next week. How about that? Because now I need time to think.
Coward. Chrissy Chemistry responded as well. Always with a great follow, Chrissy Chemistry. Also, Too Fat to Cook is a great follow as well.
Yes.
Chrissy Chemistry said her incredibly subjective Mount Rushmore, they're all subjective, of course, would be Mick Foley, AJ Lee, Bret Hart,
interesting,
and Chyna.
Nice.
I think that is a great Mount Rushmore, too. That is fantastic. Mick Foley, though he disappointed me recently with some comments about Vince McMahon,
Oh, I know.
Mick is one of the all-time greatest. I really do believe that. One of the greatest character guys in the history of wrestling. One of the greatest interviews in the history of wrestling. The guy did stuff to his body I wish he never did, but he gave us a lot of memories. AJ Lee doesn't mean as much to me as she does to a lot of others, and I think
same.
She kind of rose to prominence during a time where I wasn't watching wrestling, and so when I came back, she was still there, but it was definitely in the back half, and then when Paige Saraya came up to the main roster, she kind of was her nemesis for a minute and then became her buddy, and then she just disappeared. And so I never got to see a lot of the prime AJ Lee stuff, but I know she belongs there because you put her there. Bret Hart, that's 3 out of 3. Bret Hart's been on.
Yeah.
And then China, of course. I think China's a incredible pick for that.
Well,
for that.
Real quick, I Blade, as a huge China fan, just a suggestion for China fans out there. Watch her documentary that came out a few years ago. It's a hard watch. I feel terrible for her. Well, she's not with us anymore, but I felt terrible for what she went through, and you will understand a little bit better why I'm not a fan of Paul Levesque and Stephanie McMahon. Yeah.
Yep. And then CM Horror Punk, Chris Chemistry's partner, said he'd have to think about his, but he would definitely have Andre and Mick Foley on it. So that's very cool. My roommate, my former roommate, my best friend, I said on the last episode, his Mount Rushmore, in his words, is 3 Bret Harts and a Tanahashi.
That's
so. Thank you all for participating with us. If I missed any, please let me know, and I will read them on the next episode. Okay, well, Joshi G, that does it for us this week. If we sounded a little pessimistic or a little disappointed about the direction of a few things in AEW, so what? We'll get over it. And Tony Khan generally and the AEW product generally seems to defy my expectations when I get a little concerned about something. So it's not something that I'm like in the dumps about. You know what I mean? It's just, I wish this had gone a little differently, but we'll see. I if I didn't have tickets to WrestleDream, I'd be buying it on pay-per-view, and I hope you guys do too. But I haven't yet, but very soon I will be posting a little personal tour of Blade Daily's wrestling room with all my toys and my wrestling shit, so you guys can see why I'm a middle-aged single man. But until then, I'm Blade Daily.
I'm Joshi G. If you can, this weekend and next week, try to watch Stardom, support Joshi Wrestling. If you can, it's one of the best in the entire world, Joshi's Rule. So please, if you can watch some matches from Stardom, that would be really awesome.
Pro wrestling forever. Get the hell out of here, Jack Parrott!